Hello and welcome to another episode of Acts of the Blood God, an independent RPG podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Victor Hunter, and my two co-hosts are out this episode, but there's a reason for that. Stay with me. Please don't run away. I know you're scared right now, but I promise you're in good hands. We have a very special guest coming up. It's a topic that I've promised that we would discuss for, probably years now. And hey, if you saw the title of this episode, you probably know what it is. But I'm very excited to get to it. But before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping. What's up? It's Acts of the Blood God, independent RPG podcast. The only way we can keep the lights on is with your support. Of course, patreon.com/bloodgodpod is where you can go to give that support. $1 a month, of course, gets you access to our incredible Discord and our amazing community over there. Everybody's, oh boy, the new patch for FF14 has dropped. I'm sure people are going to be running the Occult Crescent if you want to join in on the fun over there. We've got at least 3 nights of the week is a community game night, so come hang out with us. That also lets you participate in the monthly polls for what we're going to be covering on our Pantheon and SideQuest episodes. It also lets you participate in the game club that is happening over on the Discord. And I believe the poll for our next Pantheon of the Blood God pick has come in. And if I'm not mistaken, our next game that we're playing for the game club is Illusion of Gaia. This was a Nadia pick this time around, so everybody get excited to fire up your Super Nintendos and play through Illusion of Gaia with the rest of the community. $5 a month gets you access to these episodes, but ad-free, as well as Nadia's weekly newsletter. Oh, gosh, what was it about this week? I had it on the tip of my brain, and it's something fun. Moogles. She wrote about Moogles, and whether we love them or hate them. I can't imagine being on the hate train for Moogles. That sounds like you'd have to be a psychopath. But that's over there. $10, of course, gets you our deep dive bi-monthly Pantheon episodes. We have our Dragon Quest 3 episode coming up real quick. And then, of course, Illusion of Gaia after that. And our side quest coming up next month is our PSP RPG draft. Those are always a ton of fun. So stick around for that. And, of course, our $25 Stars of Destiny. They get access to our half-hour post shows where things get a little crazy. And we love to give a shout-out to one of these patrons every month. This month is no different. Shout-out to Larch. Thanks, Larch. Appreciate you. You're doing good stuff out there. All right, enough preamble. Without further ado, today's episode is about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Now, in 2012, men's fashion magazine Arena Homme Plus published a photo shoot featuring models wearing pieces from Prada's Spring-Summer Menswear line of 2012. Now, what catapulted these images into headlines outside of the fashion world is that the models bore the likenesses of the characters from the recently released Final Fantasy XIII 2. Lightning Farron, Saz Katzroy, Hope Estime, and others in contrapposto poses with silk shirts and pleated slacks in place of their usual adventuring garb. Now, in a move that mirrors the use of digital actor Aki Ross over a decade earlier for the ill-fated movie Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, Square once again hiked through the uncanny valley to bring these characters closer to life. Now, while video game blog headlines scratched their heads over this seemingly out-of-the-blue collaboration, It was nothing more than the fashion DNA that had always been an important part of Final Fantasy's identity, reaching a natural point in its evolution. Now, in his article attached to this photo shoot in Arena Om Plus, Stephen Poole writes, "A model is a human being who shows off fashion to their best effect on the catwalk or in a photograph. But in the world of computing, a model is also a mathematical construct, a recreation in numbers of reality's underlying processes. And so a video game character is always, too, a model. Digital flesh molded to a skeleton of pure geometry, simulating the characteristics of real bone and flesh and blood bodies, the rhythm of a gait, the swinging of limbs, the choreography of spell casting and sword swinging." Now, this intersection where fantasy and reality are able to meet in the most material way would only be explored more and more in the years to come for Final Fantasy. And with me today to discuss this intersection of fashion and Final Fantasy is the host and creator of my personal favorite fashion YouTube channel, The Casual. He's a guru of Japanese street fashion and beyond. Please welcome to the show for the very first time, Reggie Casual. How the hell are you, Reggie?
I'm good, man. I like the intro. I'm very good. It's very good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic to have you. I'm so stoked. This episode has sort of been, like I mentioned, I've promised this episode for a very, very, very long time. And I've been a fan of your channel and your commentary on fashion in general for a while now. And
I really appreciate
I
it.
was so glad when I reached out. My initial plan was, well, if I can get, two guests, one from the fashion world and one from the Final Fantasy world,
Mhm.
and maybe those two guests have dabbled in the other, but at least we can get a dialogue going. And you responded to my email, letting me know that you are in fact already a Final Fantasy fan,
Absolutely.
and I
No
I
question.
could not
No
have been more
question.
excited.
Yeah, no
So
question.
to help the listeners get to know you a little bit, let's start with some of that. Tell me about your personal history with maybe video games in general, RPGs, and specifically Final Fantasy.
Okay, so when Victor, when you hit me up, I was super excited about this because it's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time that I haven't really been able to express to
Really?
most people because they don't know why I got into fashion. And I have to tell you, like, video games were a major, major, major part of that.
Right.
Major part of that. Probably the single biggest catalyst for me as far as fashion is concerned. And I've not talked about this in full, mainly because, what you were talking about earlier, the intersection between gaming and fashion, for a lot of people, it's just kind of like it's out of sight, out of mind. Like, how do these two kind of collaborate?
Yeah.
But in the context of how I came into fashion, that was my road,
Really?
right? Like that was the road for me. And Final Fantasy was a big part of that. Now, I had already been into games before that,
Uh-huh.
before even the 97 release of like Final Fantasy 7, where we started seeing these kind of uh anatomical characters where you got the outfits and everything.
Yeah.
My start, as far back as I can remember, the formerly known as Final Fantasy 3,
Yeah. Yeah.
Final Fantasy 6. Yeah, and then going into the hand-drawn work of Akira Toriyama
Uh-huh.
in Chrono Trigger. So that's Chrono Trigger. I'm a big Chrono Trigger fan. And
Fantastic.
so that immediately went into um, once PlayStation 1 came out and I played Final Fantasy 7, I was like, okay, I'm here. Like I've arrived.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was such a big inspiration to me that there wasn't up until the PS5 era, I think, or PS4. I think PS4 era. Actually PS5. Yeah, I had just every Final Fantasy that came out.
Yeah.
I needed to play it, and so yeah, it's a big part of the catalog of games that I play. Um, or has been a big part of the catalog of games that I play. In recent years, I haven't had as much time on my schedule to carve out 100-hour campaigns. Although in my Steam library, I still have my Final Fantasy VII remake like just sitting there with
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the last one to come out so I can just say, you know what, just gonna play it all at one time.
Sure. So you haven't even done the first part yet.
I've
You're
done the
just
first one. I did the
okay.
first one on PS5. I did the first one on PS5,
Yeah.
PS5,
Yeah.
and then I recently switched over to PC only for my gaming,
Right.
and so like I rebought it, and it's like I'm just gonna do it all over again. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Oh, I'm stoked. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So was it video games and Final Fantasy specifically, like were you seeing character designs that you then resonated with in the fashion world and you realized, oh, like it's especially when it comes to like Nomura's work, it's
Hmm.
like it seems outlandish at first, but there is clear inspiration
Well, absolutely,
in the world of fashion that these ideas and
absolutely.
silhouettes and shapes are coming from.
Hmm.
So yeah,
If you're talking about just the intersection between what was happening on the screen, what you were seeing on the screen,
yeah,
and what was actually happening in 90s Japanese fashion,
yeah,
it's a clear line.
yeah, yeah,
A clear line. I mean, Cloud himself is utilitarian
yeah,
industrial workwear mixed
totally,
in with Japan. It's totally that. Like you see it and
yeah,
you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Sephiroth, character who we think is like wearing all this drapey stuff, that is visual K all
yeah,
day.
yeah,
Right? Like it's the same silhouettes that we're seeing from, people who are like rock stars who are performing on stage like gacked.
yeah,
Right? So like we're seeing all this stuff and we're like, how can anybody wear that? And I think for us as it's part of the reason why I had to do a large study on this for the last 10 years
mhm,
was because for us as in the Western context, we look at that as costume.
yeah,
We think of cosplay, right? We think of it as costume.
right,
And while you certainly have that dynamic in Japan, a lot of it is inspired by what you see on the street,
right,
right? Like, so when Nomura was designing like Tifa, when he was designing Cloud, when he was designing Vincent, when he was designing Sephiroth, he was looking at what was happening on the streets of the most dynamic time in Japanese fashion history,
yeah,
which is the spawn of the Urahara movement, the spawn of the tail end of uh, Shibukaji, which is the Shibuya casual movement in the 80s.
mm,
And he was taking all that energy from Undercover. I mean, you look at Undercover, Jun Takahashi's Undercover in 1993, 1994, 95. It is literally a carbon copy of what you might see in Final Fantasy VII. Like
sure,
if you just look at it, like the utility, like from just the kind of like the resistance fighters, Biggs, Wedge, all of that. It's almost like you can see it. Once you see it, you're like, oh, okay, I see where he's pulling from.
totally,
And Tifa, body conscious movement that was happening amongst Japanese females in the 90s. Like she represented one half, where Aerith Gainsborough represented the other half, the soft cottage core, the evolution which would soon become Morty Girl in the future. So this all of this was just kind of like in my
right, right,
like in my catalog, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, now I see it. Oh, now I see it.
yeah.
And we'll get into more of there's some other stuff in there that I don't want to kind of talk about it because I'm like super
I
excited about
know, dude. This could be. I hate that this show is only gonna be like 2 hours long because this could be.
Yeah, because there is so much I've wanted to say for so long, but
um,
but yeah, I think that's really the clear when you look at it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
clear.
So, would you say I wanna pull another quote from this article that Stephen Poole wrote alongside this shoot from Arena Om Plus, because I I tell you, I'm gonna pat myself on the back for a second, because I
Let's go.
could not find an archive of this issue. This was the spring summer 2012 issue.
Mm,
Could not find it archived for the life of me, could not find the contents of this magazine. All I knew is that there was an article written to accompany this shoot, and I thought, I need to know what is in here. Um,
mm.
Eventually found out Stephen Poole was the writer. God bless him. Emailed him within like I think he's in the UK, and within a few hours he responded and said, "Oh yeah, I happen to have it right here on my hard drive. Here's all the text." And
Thanks.
and it's honestly incredible. It's such a
Mm,
fun sort of, he's quoting William Gibson in it. He's talking about the blurry line between fantasy and reality, and the digital
mm,
and the real. And it, like I say, it's the kind of thing that they were also doing around the time of Spirits Within and these digital
right.
actors. And it
Mm,
also feels very like, now we have to put up with the AI, the Gen AI side of this sort of
right.
discussion, which is the darkest timeline of
Mm,
the through line of this. Um,
right.
but there's one in here I'm going to talk about, sort of even pre Nomura. Um, Stephen Poole says many of the characters in the Final Fantasy series have been designed by the revered Japanese artist Yoshitaka Amano. And it is
Mm,
in the Gustav Klimt-esque flowing lines of such illustrations that we can locate an
ooh.
authentic creative link between video games and fashion. Both begin, after all, with sketches. You draw a person wearing certain garments, afterwards you make the garments. The difference with video games is that you also make the person. Um, and I think that was lovely. That was one I wanted to
No,
pull.
that's
Yeah, right.
that is beautiful.
Because I
That is
I feel like Amano, before we even get to Nomura's more street fashion and contemporary styles, Amano was already imbuing these character designs with weight to what they were wearing. Like
mm,
you with the tassels and the flowing garments, it's like you can see what is silk and what is cotton, and how these things sit on these characters, especially like, I don't know, Kefka, for example.
mm.
You just see like, man, if someone was walking down the runway in Kefka's outfit, you wouldn't bat an eye. You'd be like,
Yeah.
absolutely, that's
Yeah.
that's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it has always sort of had a high fashion feel to Final Fantasy, even before we're getting into the more practical stuff of the late
Yeah.
90s.
Well, if we're talking purely about how fashion is created,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it's the same process, but what he mentioned, like you're also creating the character, which gets at the heart of not just what the characters are wearing, but the actual essence of the word character,
Mm.
the character of the character,
Mm, mhm.
right? And that is a big part of why I absolutely love Japanese fashion,
Yeah.
because everybody, not everybody, but it's so often when you meet an individual that, and because of the nature of Japanese culture, where their character is in what they wear,
Yeah.
right? Like they embody that character. You know what they are about, especially if they're really deep into the subculture,
Mhm.
which in Japan, find so many people like this. And if they're deep within the subculture and you know like the brands that they're wearing, or you know who designed their clothing, you know what their character is. And so Japanese character design in JRPGs and beyond invoke this same idea.
Yeah.
Even beyond Final Fantasy, what Dante in Devil May Cry wears
Yeah.
represents who he
Yeah.
is as a character. He's not simply in that to look cool. He's in that to showcase this guy is so strong he wears a red trench coat with no shirt under it, right? With a strap buckle
Yeah.
across his chest.
Yeah.
who he is.
Yeah.
And so when you get into the character designs of Final Fantasy, which is, I would say, like the apex of this, outside of maybe Persona doing kind of like something very similar,
Sure.
uh, but with more high school kind of, you know, flourishes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What Final Fantasy does is that they, they're creating characters who's, when you look at them, you say, oh, you look at like Lightning from 13 and you're saying, yep, that fits her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like you look at Snow and you're like, yep, that. You look
Totally.
at Saz, same thing. You look at these characters and you say, what they're wearing actually represents who they are.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've always enjoyed, and something that I've actually been inspired by myself in my own fashion choices.
Yeah. Well, so many things I want to touch on. You mentioned lightning, especially, and even in the context of you mentioned the Persona games and how that's very like, when you are wearing a school uniform, you find ways to customize it to yourself, and you find ways to imbue that with personality. And that's
Oh
very
man,
much the thesis of the styles in the Persona games is, what does
right.
this character do under the limitations of the uniform that's been imposed on them?
Victor, you're talking about something that I was absolutely going to focus on in this particular discussion. This is what you're covering, what you're talking about right now and this is what a lot of people really skip over when they think of Japanese fashion,
Mm-hmm.
right? They see the outfits and they see the precision, and they see like, wow, how are they able to take these kind of like simple things and create a character
Yeah.
out of these things that I have availability to. Well,
Yeah.
I have, it's available to me.
Yeah.
Like jeans and a shirt is available to me, but somehow this person who's wearing jeans and a shirt looks different than how I would.
Yeah. I had a eureka moment. It was when I was playing Persona 5 for the first time, and looking at their uniforms, and I was like, man, I wish they made black and red plaid pants, because I'd
Hmm.
love to wear black and red plaid pants. And it clicked,
Hmm.
and I said, Victor, you fucking idiot. Of course they make black pants
Absolutely.
with a red plaid pattern. Go buy some and wear them, and
Go buy
you'll
some.
feel like $1,000,000
Go.
bucks.
But you know what that hesitation is? That hesitation is that you're seeing a character. And so
Yeah.
your mind is like, I can't wear that without it being
Yeah.
cosplay,
Yes.
without it being costume. And
Yeah.
this is the heart of, like whenever I'm notoriously like against, not against, but when people ask me, hey, you go to like anime convention or you go to like video game conventions, and I'm like, are you like dress up like characters? I'm like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But I have nothing against it. I don't want people to like
Of course.
go
Yeah.
crazy on me. But it's because of what I know now versus you know, versus what other people are introduced to through character
Yeah.
like design. And why I got into it, just to go back a little bit, why I got into it is because that's what I wanted to do before fashion. I
Yeah.
wanted to be a character designer
Really?
for video games.
Really?
That's why I wanted to have this conversation, because before I got into fashion, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a character designer. I'm actually an illustrator, so
Wow.
I wanted to be a character designer because of Final Fantasy. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. I want to create characters in styles that I like.
Right.
And as I got deeper and deeper into it, I started researching more fashion. And so that's when I was like, oh my God, there's a whole world here
Yeah.
that I simply don't know. This is way back when I was in, early high school, where I was just like, there's a whole world here that I can just deconstruct. And I naturally do that.
Yeah.
And so when you get to, like Persona, or you get to Final Fantasy, what you're talking about is exactly the the through line of how Japan processes fashion.
Right. Right.
It isn't about looking at something like, you may look at yourself and say, oh, that person's wearing Americana or workwear or something. That's not necessarily something that I would wear, but you're thinking about it in terms of the style, the universal style of workwear and
Right.
heritage. What a Japanese person will look at that who wants to be involved, they won't say, I can't wear that. They say, how do I fit that into what I do?
Right, right.
So that's where the journey starts. That's where
Yeah.
you start finding different brands, or you start looking at how I can design that. You say, well, I don't really wear, slim fit pants, but what if I made a wide pair of selvage denim pants that are in the style that I normally do?
Sure.
And how would I incorporate that style into what? So now you're taking from something that is familiar that
Yeah, yeah,
and then you're applying it to what you do.
yeah,
And that's how you create character. And that's exactly what these games are doing.
yeah.
For the last 30 or so years, especially Final Fantasy has been teaching you how to dress like Japanese,
Yeah.
like people in Japan,
Yeah. You
right? Like how to approach fashion in Japan.
even there's a similarity. I think when FF13 came out, a lot of people sort of derisively called Lightning like, oh, it's Girl Cloud. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, she's in like the military organization, and she's
right.
a little
I remember
taciturn and a
this.
little cold.
Mhm.
And I was just thinking about how, because you brought up how Cloud's design is that industrial workwear, and the fact that he isn't actually who he thinks he is part of the fact
Mm,
that he's manufactured that one pauldron, or that
mhm.
that is supposed to look like a soldier first class uniform, but is actually just made
Right,
of like materials he's found. um
right.
and and how Lightning is also, she is using a uniform. She's using that Guardian Corps uniform, but she's got her little half cape. She's got her skirt that is maybe leather. I don't know. It's tough to tell.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Who
the
knows?
texture on that skirt is, it doesn't quite look like it's canvas. It's weird. It's an odd
Mm,
little piece. But yeah, this is all in service of who these characters are under these limitations and how they make that their own. Ah, God,
yes.
I knew I had you on here for a reason, Reggie.
Yeah, no, I will tell you, because when you started sending me like all the information, I keyed in on a particular game that really introduced us to all of
Yeah.
this, right? The concept of how how to take something and apply it to your like to what your character is.
Uh-huh.
There was one Final Fantasy game that introduced us to this early on, and I'm not sure if people caught it, but when it came out, I was like, I was such a big fan of it because it basically it proved my theory at the time, but it also became a reality, and that was Final Fantasy X-2 with the Dresspheres.
Yeah, dog.
If you
Yeah, dog.
All
Oh
right, so
shit.
I played this game religiously
Me
because
too.
I was like, "Oh my god. Like this is it. This is the game." Like I played 10 and 10, Titus, whatever is how
Titus, we say Titus on this show. Uh
okay, Titus.
we
Titus in
read the
his lap,
katakana. We read the
all
katakana and
right?
we get it right.
Read the katakana. Like, I try to
Uh,
be nice about it. But if you look, 10 was just kind of like this melodramatic, very Japanese kind of drama filled game.
mhm, mhm.
And I saw all of the kind of like inspirations in that from island culture, Okinawa culture with Waka, and then with Lulu and, Victorian
Yeah.
goth Lolita, and then and it's and of course Yuna, traditional Japanese and
Yeah.
island wear, and then also a traditional Korean wear. Like it's all a mixture
Yeah.
of different stuff, and I enjoyed it. But what happened with 10-2 is you got to see exactly how each character, because everybody had the same access to the same spheres, how each character applied
Mhm.
that dress sphere to their own character. So
Yeah.
and I always bring up dress sphere, white mage and black mage.
Yeah.
That will tell you exactly how Japanese fashion
Oh
works
my gosh,
because how the
100%.
characters present themselves in those two. Riku in her white mage outfit actually it's an oversized, because she's a lot smaller than everybody else. It's oversized. She actually has an opening in the top of her crown that has her hair coming out, which goes to her character. It's kind of like she's this loose kind of, I do whatever I want to do, not really conforming. Whereas Yuna is straight laced. Every time that she's in an outfit, it's always the correct way to do it. Right. Right. And then when you get to Pain, hers is kind of this subversive. I'm gonna do it my way. I'm not gonna be traditional, but I'm also not gonna do what Riku does, which is a little bit more loose. I have a character that I embody that suits me. So when you look at White Mage, when she does it, the staff is on her back. The actual gown is cut short, where you see the boots going all the way up. And then it's this kind of thing where when you look at it, you're like, yeah, it matches each character. That's Japanese fashion.
Totally.
That's exactly what it is. That's it. A person doing something. Everybody has access to the same stuff, but how I apply it is going to be different. That's going to showcase my character. And so I went through this game literally getting dresspheres just to see what how each character applied the outfit. And that was a study in fashion for me. And I loved every single minute of it, because that's all I cared about in the game. I didn't care about reuniting.
No, let her go on her road trip with her girlfriends. Let's forget about the boyfriend for just one weekend, can we please?
One weekend.
And let these girls have fun. That is, so I didn't even have a PS2 at this point. Wow. I bought the FF102 player's guide purely because it had all the illustrations and the CG renders of the dresspheres in it.
See, that's speaking my language now.
Yeah, it truly, it was 100% this like fashion awakening. I was actually going to bring up my fashion awakening being a slightly later game, but I think you kind of nailed it with 10-2. And I would say that that's also something that resonated with me about Final Fantasy V, is even with those sprites, every single character has a different interpretation of the job. Whether that's like Beastmaster and Kryl is like in a full little sheep outfit, whereas Bartz and Lena will have different headpieces that have the horns on it or whatever, but they all have unique interpretations of these jobs in such a tiny little format. And
Final Fantasy was the first to really do this. That's what the crazy part about it is that we hadn't really been introduced. I mean, Mario wore Mario gear. Like, he wasn't changing it up until like later. But Final Fantasy was with sprites. And that's what made it kind of cool. It's like, okay, all right.
Even with like we've been playing Dragon Quest III for the show, and that has a job system in it, but really you're just switching between what does that job look like for the male character and what does it look like for the female character. And there's something to that, but you're not getting this amount of personality between named characters, because these are your player characters who you name and create, and you imbue them with whatever personality you want. But this Final Fantasy is showing character personality and character identity through what they're wearing.
Exactly. And that's why I say, like, when people when you hit me up about this, I was like, this is right up my alley. This has been my inspiration for the longest time. This is why I started what I do, because I was like, it can't be just me. It can't be just me like that notices this. The difference between me and somebody who notices is that I actually went to school and studied it.
Of course.
Right? Like that's the only difference. Like I went to school, I studied it, and I decided, and I'm from California, was introduced to media and production and presentation early, so I knew how to say it on screen, right? So for me, it was just like, I need to talk about this, but it was so difficult because I knew in fashion there's things that we like in fashion. I mean, fashion community and the video game community are very distinct, right? Like they represent two different sides, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Not even of the same coin. Quite often they don't intermingle.
Totally.
Especially in the past.
There's a little sliver in the middle of that Venn diagram. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that sliver for me, I knew was in the Japanese fashion and the Japanese fashion and video game community.
Yeah.
I knew that. Like I knew that's where it was, because you tell me anybody that is a Final Fantasy fan that doesn't like Japanese fashion, like, and I'm gonna be like, really?
Yeah.
Right.
And if
Like,
they say
really?
no, they're lying, because
Right.
they might not know that they love it, but at some point they absolutely do.
They absolutely do.
Yeah. Gosh. I I don't even know which direction I want to take it right now because I'm so
Please,
stoked.
anything. We're gonna have a conversation. This
Just like a couple more questions for you before we dig into more Final Fantasy stuff. I would love to pick your brain about, like, how long have you been in Japan?
I came here in 2010.
Okay, wow.
But I left for about 2 years to go back to Los Angeles, and then I came back in 2016.
Very cool.
So maybe collectively, maybe 12 years.
Sure, yeah.
12, 13 years.
I've had the pleasure to visit twice.
Oh.
I'm hoping to go again very soon. Hey, somebody out there's got to fly me out for that Sakura Wars 30th anniversary celebration. I'm the most qualified person in the English-speaking world to talk about Sakura Taisen stage shows. I'm telling you,
Let's do it.
Someone's got to fly me out. But I would love to know, because I will say 2007, a formative game for me came out, and that was The World Ends With You.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've played The World Ends With You.
That's DS, right?
That is on the DS, yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah. I used to work at GameStop, man. Like,
really?
I know.
I worked at EB Games from 2000.
I worked at EB Games before GameStop,
yeah.
And then it turned into GameStop.
Yeah,
so yes.
I was
part of the same group, man.
EB Games employee 2006 to 2010, I think was my year.
Pretty much. yeah.
So The World Ends With You comes out in 2007 on the DS. Entirely set in Shibuya, and I don't think at that point I had ever played a video game that was set in like real world Japan, or that you know, semi accurately represented a real world space like that.
Okay.
And much like the Dresspheres in 10-2, the gear system in The World Ends With You unlocked something in my brain. So every character, let's start with the gear itself. There are 12 designers. Just sort of like 12 fashion labels in The World Ends With You. They are all also like sneakily references to the 12 signs of the zodiac, but that's not super important. They all represent different styles. There is the workwear one. There is the gothic Lolita. There is like there's a little Gyaru style. There's a little bit of everything in this game. And to wear that gear, every piece of gear has a bravery rating, and all of your characters have a bravery stat. And you can increase that bravery stat to the point where you can equip more and more sort of outlandish gear. And what I think is an incredible piece of storytelling is that all the male characters start with dog water bravery. They've got 4 or 5 bravery. Shiki, your female character, she starts out with tons of bravery. Because all of the gear that is designed for women is very, very high bravery.
Right.
So she can equip whatever. She can equip men's clothes. She can equip women's clothes. The best stuff is quite often designed for women. So you better get those boys to a point where they are brave enough to go out into public in Shibuya and wear a dress.
That's I have to be completely honest with you. I haven't really played it like that. I knew the again character design of it, and I played like maybe a few hours of it.
Yeah.
But what you're telling me right now really resonates with how Japan actually is. I mean, that's it. Like how there was a Japanese designer a few years ago that gave an interview, and he talked about how like today, like Japanese fashion today is not as brave, right, as it was in like the 90s. Like they were doing things where it was, guys were gentlemen or just dudes were wearing things that normally they wouldn't, in Japanese society they just hadn't worn. Like that whole punk movement byline from like the late 80s into the 90s, where everything was just throw it on the wall, wear everything. That's what kind of that represents. Like the with The World Ends With You, the way that you explain it, that's the lineage that it represents. Is this idea of just throw it up against the wall, try something, but make it coherent, make it work, right? Like make it work. That's what we were talking about earlier. How do you make something yours? Right. And I think even in The World Ends With You, like different people are from different places, right? Right. So that goes into it's the same thing that happens in Japan. Depending on what area you live in, there is and of course that happens in the West too. I'm not going to act like it doesn't.
Totally.
But it's so distinct in Japan that you can go from Shibuya proper to Harajuku and get a completely different style. And Harajuku is in Shibuya. Right? Like it's in the Shibuya ward. So you go to like Shibuya proper, where the crossing is, where everything is, where the game really is settled in, right? Like that area. And then you go right to Harajuku, and Harajuku is like a different vibe entirely. And then you go to Omotesando, and that's a different vibe entirely. Right? And so you start and Shibuya proper, Harajuku, and Omotesando is really just one road. Right? Right? Like it's one road. And you see the differences in how people approach fashion. And then once you hit Omotesando and then you hit Minami Aoyama, Minami Aoyama is strictly like Prada meets Yoji Yamamoto meets Issey Miyake meets Undercover. It becomes this kind of like different culture depending on what area you occupy, and you inhabit that proudly. Right? Like it's this one thing. It's like, this is our area, but it's like from a block to block radius. And that's one thing that I did like about The World Ends With You. Is that game really did showcase. That game was the second game, I believe, that showcased the differences in with the bravery, which you're explaining, but the differences between like area to area. The first game for me that did that, that really showed me the kind of like the dynamic of Japanese fashion and how it changes from city to ward to ward or city to city, was Jet Set Radio.
Hell yeah.
So Jet Set Radio was like, okay, I feel like I'm here.
With the different designs for the gangs, and they are very like explicit too about saying exactly where they're from and like what their territory is. And that's so fun.
And I mean, it's also a game that's based in Shibuya-cho. So like when you go to these different areas, you see like how they represent themselves. And it becomes this kind of like journey into Japanese fashion that you're thinking like, oh, these people just have a particular style and that's it. But then once you hit Japan, you're like, wait a minute. They're not just have a particular style and it's unique to them. That's the actual character of the area, of the city. And so you end up saying, okay, this goes far beyond what I thought it was before, and
Yeah.
I really want to go deep into that. So
Yeah.
that's I mean, World Ends With You, Jet Set Radio, all these games,
Yeah. Yeah.
they, especially if they're based in Japan,
Yeah.
they invoke that almost
And
100%.
both of these games were a very 2000, like 90s into the 2000s version of that area of Japan. You've been there for
Mm.
a while now. How would you maybe say things have changed? Are are there certain styles that have fallen by the wayside, things that have emerged? Like what have you observed that is now different from that time? Because I think notoriously even the sequel Neo The World Ends With You kind of didn't resonate with people as much, and I think it's because it came out in what, like 2019 or 2020, and Shibuya is a very different place. Oh yeah.
There we go.
You're good.
uh okay, so this is a very good question.
Thanks.
Um because it speaks to what's the evolution. I mean, places evolve.
Yeah.
You're right, like
Yeah.
everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. But in Japan, there's a lot of different elements that are at play that have led to where we are at right now in Japanese fashion. And one of the biggest uh is, and it's not something that people talk about a lot, but it's the weather,
Mhm.
right? I mean, Japanese summers, Japan summers, the humidity is so bad. It's so terrible right now that brands, and you may say, well, they could do something. No, like brands are literally engineering clothes to deal with the heat,
Yeah.
right? Like that's, and you can't be subversive when you're talking about dealing with the heat, because you need to have some kind of uniformity, because when you start making kind of like avant-garde or, experimental fashion with, highly sophisticated textile technology, it gets rather expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of the equation. The other thing is just that these, we like to say amongst us who are studying Japanese fashion, trends don't, subcultures don't die in Japan, they're preserved.
Right.
Right? So they're still here.
Yeah.
Right? All of those things that we knew before are still here. The problem is that they're now, and it does that Japan thing where they escape, or they go back to their little enclaves.
Right.
They're in these places that you're not going to see in Harajuku, where you saw it in Harajuku 10, 20 years ago. Now they're back in their little enclaves. Like most Japanese people are not, most Japanese people who are in a particular subculture, they're not going to Harajuku anymore. Harajuku is a tourist trap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Right. Totally.
Right? Like that's where everybody knows to go.
Yeah.
Now, like those individuals who are part of these subcultures are going back to their enclaves where they have their own group. If you want to be a part of that group, you literally have to search for, you literally have to discover it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to
Yeah.
discover that thing. And what Japanese fashion requires you to do is to invoke it with every fiber of your being.
Right.
And so you can be introduced to this stuff, because there's this kind of community version of it where this brand makes leather jackets and that brand over there makes boots. So we're going to work together as a brand, as our brand. We're going to be the ones who supply the leather jackets. You guys are going to be the ones who supply the boots for our look.
Right.
That's
Right.
what a brand like Addict and a brand like Rolling Dub Trio do all the time.
Right.
Right? Like they know each other. Addict makes leather jackets, Rolling Dub Trio makes boots. They come together for one particular outfit, right? Like when a person who goes to this store is going to go to that store to get the boots.
Yeah.
And so all of this just this happens constantly, where it's like brands are competing, but they're kind of like pseudo competing.
Right.
They're like, we're part of this entire ecosystem together. Let's not try to beat each other into oblivion.
Yeah.
Let's try to work together to provide the texture for each other. Right. And that's where Japanese fashion is headed right now. It's becoming what it was in the past, which is incredibly local. Right? Because when you look at past Harajuku, Harajuku was a local area where that was happening. Like late 80s into the early 90s, where you have like Nigo, Jun Takahashi, Hiroshi Fujiwara, that whole group, um, Neighborhood, Tetsu Nishiyama from Double Taps, all these guys, when they were in that time, Harajuku wasn't a place that you went to for like fashion. It was literally an underground area.
Right.
Urahara literally means behind Harajuku,
Right.
right?
Right.
Right. So like that whole area wasn't like a place where you were going like normal everyday shoppers were going. It
Yeah.
wasn't that. It was these guys had all these old buildings in the back of Harajuku. They just rented them out. They were not expensive to rent out. And so they started their brands. And when you went back there, you weren't just introduced to, what Nigo, what Bape was doing or what Undercover was doing. You were introduced to a whole slew of up and comers who
Right.
were building this entire area, who were buying, vintage stuff from America and reorganizing it with a Japanese eye and with the Japanese lens. So that whole idea has, the big guys are, Nigo's has his own company, right? Like corporate structure.
Right.
But the new generation, they can't do what those guys did in the 80s and 90s. So they're now going to their enclaves where they have, the difference now between now and then is that it's now spread out.
Right.
It's not in one area anymore.
Yeah.
And for the person who's visiting Japan, they're like, where is this stuff?
Right.
You have to literally be in deep within it.
Yeah.
And you almost have to commit to it. So it becomes this kind of like search, but that's really the beauty of it. Because once you find one, they'll introduce you to a slew of others.
That's absolutely the beauty of it. It reminds me a little of how, like, I mean, we all know the video game industry is imploding right now. Big.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. It's truly a nightmare, and it means that with so many big games that are so big that they cannot possibly fail and become designed by committee, the interesting stuff and the stuff that might resonate with you or has the idiosyncrasies of the kinds of games you want to be playing. You've got to seek them out. You have to find smaller outlets that are making those, the indie teams, to sort of bring it full circle is, when I'm in Akiba, I'm not going to Super Potato because that has been picked clean and is just that's the lowest common denominator of selling video games to white guy who's here on his honeymoon.
Right.
But I find that you dig into a back alley, you go down the stairs down into Beep, the unassuming little Beep, and you find this like mecca of guys literally assembling their homebrew Game Gear games to sell in small batches over the counter. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. This is the texture that I want to find. And the beauty of Tokyo is that it has the density to allow for that and to allow for these places where you can just go around the corner and go down a set of stairs and you are in a new world. And
I used to tell people that all the time. When you come to Tokyo, it's different than in the West. Eye level is not bi level.
Yeah.
Look up, look down.
Oh yeah.
That's where you're gonna find this stuff.
I
look
love
up,
it.
Look down.
I love going into some building and then seeing what's on the 8th floor in like a 300 square foot space and discovering the coolest people I've ever met in the world.
Because they know those and that's where I think just a macro cultural perspective on it is that I think that that's what's missing from the discourse just in approaching Japanese culture is that a lot of people think maybe Japanese people are standoffish or they're overly polite or there's this honor. Japanese people have a very complex, highly they're what we say high context society, right? Like they don't have to say a lot in order for you to know exactly what they mean, right? Unless you just don't know, right? So when you're coming from a society which is people get messed up about this low context where, you know, it doesn't mean that you're lesser. It just means that us as Westerners, we our heart is on our sleeve. We'll tell you what we like in 5 seconds,
Sure.
right? Whereas a Japanese person can keep that hidden, and you'll never know
Yeah.
unless you ask or unless you go to their area. So when you go
Right.
to a store like that and they're cool, you're like, wow, these are like some of the coolest people that I've ever met in Japan. Why? Because you made it to their store and
Yeah.
they know that you're a part of their community.
Yeah.
They know that in order for you to go in there and see what they're doing and be excited about it, the language barrier doesn't matter at that point.
Totally.
All that matters is that you're interested in the same thing that I'm interested in, and we're a part of the same community.
Oh.
That's the I mean, that's the beauty of it. It doesn't
I
matter what you look like, what you do. And the people who live here that figure that out unlock Japan
right.
almost immediately.
Right.
They're like, oh, that's what it is. It isn't the veneer. It isn't that surface level, that thing that we fell in love with when it came to Japan in the first place.
Sure.
And you still love it. But then when you get here, if you find that under that beneath the surface, just
Yeah.
one step below, it becomes even more just texturized and just
Yeah.
it's the spice, the hidden spice in the gumbo,
Yeah.
where you're like, I don't know what that is,
Ah.
but it's making it good. Right. And that's really the why I stay here.
I gotta go back. I have so many stories of exactly that that I just want to talk. In terms of bringing up sort of how things change over time and how styles can emerge and then will sort of recede back into their smaller communities. I want to ask you about Final Fantasy 15. 15, because I think this is an interesting one. Now, I have so many notes and we're not going to get to like 70% of them because we could do this forever.
We could do it. We might need to do a part 2.
We might need to do a part 2, which is perfect because I do have another guest that I would love to have on. She's stoked about the potential of doing a part 2. So everyone stand by. We'll get to more stuff. But I think 15 I thought was really interesting because it was sort of the first one to outwardly announce that its character designs were a collaboration with a fashion designer. So
Right.
if people aren't familiar, back in 2006, they announced the Fabula Nova Crystallis trilogy, which was going to be Final Fantasy 13, Versus 13, and Agito 13.
Right.
One of those games came out. Agito sort of did. It was turned into Final Fantasy Type 0, and then another game came out that was called Agito, but whatever. Like all Final Fantasy things, it can't be simple. But it was very much, especially when it was announced as Versus 13, it was very much set up to be taking place in sort of an alternate world fantasy Tokyo. The skyline it alludes to Tokyo itself. It was very much supposed to be sort of an urban Final Fantasy. And part of that was that Tetsuya Nomura designed the characters themselves. We had our 4 boys who we all know and love: Noctis, Gladio, Prompto, Ignis. But something that evolved over time as it was in development and would eventually come out as Final Fantasy 15 10 years later is that their costumes were designed by I had it right here, Hiromu Takahara of Roen. He's the creative director of Roen, which is a very it's got some real classic punk aesthetic. It is, black and gunmetal and silver, and like when you think of of a stylish goth walking down the street, you can imagine Roen sort of aesthetic. I mean, just look up the four boys, and they are in quintessential Roen outfits. This again for me was pretty exciting, because as a real world collaboration, like you were saying, that thing that I always knew was in the DNA of Final Fantasy was being said out loud, I think, for the first time. And I always thought, like, Nomura's got to be a fashion guy. Like, he's did he
he's absolutely a fashion
you
guy.
know, like I always wondered, like, did he start in fashion? Did he try to study? Was he studying fashion? Like, it's one of those things I've said, I want an oral history on, like, Nomura's rise to power and his history with fashion, because I think it's so cool and interesting. And God, like, rings on a tree, you can mark time in Japanese fashion with what Nomura is doing.
You want to know about fat Japanese fashion from the gaming world? Just study Nomura.
Yeah.
Right.
Were you a fan of 15? Did you follow it at all?
I did follow 15. I
Yeah.
did follow 15, but it was also the first Final Fantasy that I didn't play upon release.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I didn't play it when it released. I was very excited about it because of Takahara-san.
Yeah.
Right? Because of Roen. I was very familiar with Roen. I knew the work that they did.
Cool.
And Roen was kind of like the more you mentioned the goth angle, but like it's also in that Onike visual K hierarchy, which is like big brother style. It's a little bit more put together.
Right.
But a lot of celebrities and a lot of artists, celebrities within that kind of dynamic used to wear Roen, or they still do wear Roen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cool.
Right? Like, still wear it. Roen uses materials like leather and whatnot. And when I heard about this, I was like, oh my God, like, because by that time I was like, people are going to see how you're going to be able to apply that to actual clothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I thought that this was going to be a great instruction. Especially when I saw the first models of Noctis. I was like, all right, we're getting to it. We're getting like, I was like, it's my time. Like, people are finally gonna see what I've been talking about. I hadn't started the channel yet at that time, I don't think. But I would talk about it with my friends. It's like, this stuff is wearable, like, for real, not like as characters.
They're
like,
literally selling replicas of this on the Roen website. You can buy
and it doesn't look weird. It doesn't look weird. Like, you just have to know how to do it. Right? And it came to pass, and it was still, again, when we looking at like sales, of course, the majority of sales of any video game, especially a Final Fantasy, is going to be in the West. And the way that we process characters in game, if you were to say, hey, you can dress up like that guy, right? In the game, instinctively you're going to be like, I'm not going to dress up like a video game character. Right? I'm not going to do that. Right?
No.
Like, it's just going to look weird unless I'm trying to dress up like that character.
You don't get it. The video game character is dressed like a guy. That's what makes it okay.
Exactly. He's dressed like a guy. You can wear that. That's what the whole exercise was for.
Yeah.
And it's the evolution of what we got from the Prada collab. What we got from the LV collab.
Yeah.
It's the evolution of that, because what they're saying is in Square World is what they're saying is like, our characters, and it may not be obvious to everybody, but our character design is so legendary that we can use our models because our models are so supremely well made.
Yeah.
And so stylish.
Yeah.
Our models can model in real clothing, and they could sell clothes.
Yeah.
Right? And when you look at it from that angle, you're like, can they? But here's the crazy thing, the difference between like the Western kind of the way that we view it and the way that the Japanese culture views it. And I will say this just as an aside. The work that I do is not speaking for Japanese people. Okay. Right. Like that. I'm not
Sure.
trying to say that I know what they think. What my job has been for the last few years.
For many years. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My job has been is not to simply translate what is said, but to actually translate what is meant.
Right.
That's most people don't know. It's like I am an Asian studies major with a focus in Japanese language and history.
Yeah.
That is my field of study.
Yeah.
I literally have to study these people to see what they say and translate it in a way that us as Westerners can understand.
Right.
Because the Japanese person can only explain it to you how they understand it. So when we take this back to fashion, when a Japanese person sees a fashion or person who likes gaming sees a fashion item in a game, they don't instinctively say, we can't wear that in public. They're like, they're validated by the game because they already wear it.
Right.
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 They're already wearing it. When
Yeah.
a person sees Roen in a game like Final Fantasy 15 and they know about Roen, they're like, now we're in video games, dog.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
now we're in the game. Right. Now we're in the game. That style is now validated in the gaming world, but it had always been validated in Japan. The game is only validating it further as this is a cultural aspect that we have in our back pocket that we can pull out anytime. That's what Square is doing. We can pull this out anytime. Yeah. This is easy.
Yeah.
So like this is not something that is new to us. It's new to you.
Yeah.
But that's what they've been trying. What Square has been exporting this entire time is not just Final Fantasy as a conceptual game, but Final Fantasy and their other properties as a way to export Japanese culture through the lens of character design, through the lens of fashion.
Yeah.
And so this has been like the practice of Japan's soft power when it comes to pop culture. Like when you think of the countries that export their pop culture to the world, the number one country is what? America, of course. The United States of America exports. But when you think of like, what's the second country? What's number 2 on that list?
Yeah.
Most people are going to be like, well, maybe Japan?
Yeah.
Right? How many of us know about like Japan? Like Japanese animation, Japanese games. And this is a country that everybody, one of the highest rates of, tourism in the world. And it's halfway across the world in a language that's character driven.
Couldn't be more different.
Right.
And
because,
we
what about France?
all
What about
want to
the
go
UK?
there.
What about these other countries? It's like, they have great exports of their stuff, but you think about how big Japanese pop culture is and how big, going back to Final Fantasy, how big Final Fantasy as a series is. Yeah. Right. How big it is and how Square has been able to take that, and not just Square, Capcom. How many of us wanted Leon's leather jacket?
Of course.
From Resident Evil 4. How many of you
it's
wanted
incredible.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many people looked at Ada Wong and was like, it's a nice dress on her.
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, saying
where can I buy that for my wife? Yeah.
Right? Like you recognize these characters as like, you know what? They're doing great work. It's not, and it's not like something that, we wear that stuff. It's like when you're looking at the precision of it and the character models and how they represent themselves, it's the whole package. It's not just the garment. It's how the person embodies that garment. And that's what a lot of these Japanese companies have been doing, from Square to Capcom, all the way to Atlas, right? Like you have, all of these companies that are doing just fantastic things in the realm of just showcasing how Japan processes design. Yeah. And that's what they're exporting, that culture.
Something totally off the notes or any sort of planning. How do you feel about places like super groupies that are doing sort of, they are taking a style from a video, and Nomura's had there's been tons of Kingdom Hearts collabs with super groupies where he's, you know, done new sketches and stuff, and it kind of feels to me like it's cheating a little bit, because you are adapting clothing that was designed for video game characters, and you are like Disney bounding it, you know. You're like
Mhm.
you're making it you're simplifying things a little bit, and you are making it a little bit more palatable, which I think is
Mm.
nice, because it it allows people who might not be comfortable, you know, wearing the Roen straight
Mm.
out of the
Mm.
box,
Mm.
but who still want like a little bit of that flavor, and want
Mm.
to step in the door a little bit. But
Mm.
also, I know that they're not the best quality, and they have the intellectual property tax on them that
Mm.
you know. I'm curious about what you think about places like that, or can you speak on
I
that?
can definitely speak to
Okay.
it. Uh, so fair, fair warning. It
Yeah,
can get lengthy. I'm going to keep it short.
sure. Let's do
That's
whatever you want.
what
Yeah.
that's what Uniqlo has been doing over the past 20 years.
Right,
What you're talking about is what
right.
Uniqlo has been doing over the past 20 years,
Okay.
is adapting a lot of these kind of subversive themes into
Yeah,
a more palatable version so you can put it together
sure.
and not look like a character, not like look like you're trying too hard.
Right.
Is what I like to call the casualization,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah, uh-huh.
casualization of subversive themes.
Ah,
That's what this whole process has been about. That's why I studied it, because this is what Japan has done. They do the most extreme version of it, right? You
yeah,
get the most extreme version of it, which happened in like, DC boom 80s Japan. Then you go into the 90s where you get the Uruhara movement. And so that's the most extreme versions of it. You can go back a little bit further, but during that time, that's where you're getting the most extreme, most community versions of it. And then once you get into the 2000s, we have this slow increase of casualizing it to make it suitable for every day,
yeah. Right,
make it palatable. This
right.
is where you're getting brands like Stein. This is where you're getting brands like Lee, brands like
Uh,
Yoke, Yohei Ono, that are taking these things that are like, I recognize that, but it's cleaner. Like it's easier to wear, but it
yeah.
clearly is something that I've seen before. So Uniqlo has been doing this like at a mass scale,
Right,
right?
right.
Teaming with brands like Undercover, with Engineered Garments, with White Mountaineering, all these different labels and brands.
Yeah,
Jill Sonder, like they've been doing this for a while. Is taking the more extreme stuff, and I wouldn't say Jill Sonder is extreme, but just like the
sure.
extreme silhouette or just the image of it, and putting it in a package that's easier to wear. So I
Right.
would say, like, when you have some of these other entities that are using like the core video game style
Yeah,
and then translating that into something that's more palatable, but not really putting the quality there. Again, I've seen it,
yeah,
right? Like I've seen brands and different companies do it, but you don't have to make it less quality. You
yeah,
literally
yeah,
can build an entire world around it that is incredibly in depth, that
yeah.
really invokes the material density of the characters that actually wore them before. So
Right.
I'm all for it in a
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
but if you're gonna go for it, like, go for it all the way. Don't
yeah.
half-ass it, whole ass it,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
whole ass it. Like if you
yeah,
really want to do this, like, and if you really and if you really want to like invoke it, and you can't do it just like the character, because again, if you're dressing just like the character, it is cosplay,
yeah, yeah,
right? But if you're applying what the character did to a more palatable version of it,
yeah,
that's where creativity starts.
yeah,
Right. We're going back to the dresspheres,
yeah,
right? You're taking what you see, like I can look like a white mage, like
yeah, yeah,
Yuna,
yeah.
or I can be like Pain. and
Yeah.
I can apply it to my character.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. What if
That's
I take Noctis's Dressphere and put it on me? What does that
right.
look like?
What does
What does
that look
yeah, yeah,
exactly? What does
yeah,
that look like? And
yeah,
that's exactly the point. Like if you're and brands do this. It's like what you know, you have a brand that I could wear one brand, you could wear, you know, I could wear a brand, you could wear that same brand, and the way we interpret it is different.
yeah,
That's clear across the board. We're not going to wear it the same way anyway because we're
yeah,
in different places. You might have something that I don't have, and
totally.
that's really, you know, why vintage and secondhand in Japan is so major because these young people, old people alike, are like going into the vintage stores and like, nope, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. That's the silhouette I want. That's the silhouette I want. That's the fade I want. That's the color I want. That's this. And I may not have this, but I'm willing to go ahead and
Right.
you know, make the sacrifice.
Right.
That's what it is. It's that process. I often used to get mad as like how to, you know, used to get kind of annoyed by the fact how to dress like this person.
Right.
That's not what you should do
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
You should say, I like what that person did. How can I apply what that person did to what I naturally do?
Yeah.
That's where creativity starts because
Yeah.
that's inspiration. As a designer, that's what you're doing all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So you think of fashion as that thing. And that's what these character designers from Nomura-san to Kobayashi-san, that's what they've been doing
Yeah.
for the past, again, 30 years is applying what they see on the street just in reverse, right? They're taking it and they're saying, how do we make it into like a cool looking character?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at this person on the street. They're not really doing it the crazy way,
Yeah.
but how do I take that look
Yeah.
and I amplify it?
Yeah. How
That's
do
where
I
the
take that
creativity
person and
starts.
make it look like they're in The Bouncer for
Right.
PS2? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
See, now you're testing my video game knowledge. I had the bouncer.
we all had The Bouncer.
The first game, I was like, you know what? Okay.
Maybe a little much. Yeah. There was something else. We were talking about 15, and you know, you get to a point, like you were saying, where the fidelity of the game is high enough. You have this real world fashion, and the way it is in the game is like the physics makes sense. Like you see the drape on their bodies. It feels like whoever was modeling that clothing understood the materials that those clothes
Right.
were made out of. They respond to weather realistically, things like that. There's another passage from Stephen Poole's write up that I want to bring out, where he says, the more solid perspectival digital realms that became possible in the 1990s with the beginnings of correct physics behavior on the part of objects in the game world paralleled in a way the Newtonian scientific revolution of forces acting regularly on bodies in three-dimensional space.
That's an awesome way to put it.
I love that. And it's like what you were saying, how Square's like, our models are good enough that they can be selling these clothes. This is like, yeah.
That's okay. So because I gotta bring this up.
Yeah.
I gotta bring this up.
Please.
So if you really want to know how this works, how Square has been actively doing this, especially within the last 10 years or so, 10, 15 years or so. If you really want to know, play a game, because you mentioned this in the notes. Play Dissidia Duellum.
Oh, can we? Oh, please, yes.
Okay?
Please,
just go ahead and play it.
Just play it.
Play it. Just play the game. Okay.
Where's my phone? Where's my phone?
I'm gonna break out. I'm a little bit mad right now. Play the game.
1 second. 1 second.
I'm so serious about that.
I'm right here. I promise I'm back. I'm here. Everything's going to be fine. I wanted to when I was conceiving of this episode, I also considered like let's have some visual examples. We'll have some visual aids of characters and sort of like discuss discuss some fits, discuss what's going
Okay.
on here.
Hey, go right ahead.
I might just save that for part 2 because we'll be
might.
here forever. But like,
because I was about to break it down.
Please do it. Go for it.
But the reason why I bring up Duellum is because it's not simply a character. It's not simply a borrowed character from the series games. Which character is that?
That's Celis. She just came out a few days ago. With those
that you could see that outfit on the street in Tokyo right now.
Yeah.
Right now. Right now. Okay? This is why I know, like, this is how it's not just that I know, it's just that I see it, right?
Yeah.
And the one character that I think I need to bring, actually 2.
Yeah.
Or actually 3.
Go for it. Go for it. Do them all.
I'm going to go through not the weakest one, but the one that I think is a correct lineage. And that's Riku.
Yeah.
Riku's second outfit. Body conscious, mixed with punk, mixed with this Gyaru style. She's always been that kind of character, right? That right there, parts of that outfit you could see. And guess what? I see girls who wear stuff like that in Japan.
Totally.
Like, you go on the street in Japan, you'll find that. But there's other characters that do it better because they were in games that didn't really have modern fashion.
Yeah.
And so the 2 characters that do this very well, they're 2 male characters. I'm very sorry for the ladies out there.
Nope, all good.
2 male characters that when you look at them as character designs in their game, they already look cool. They already are cool looking characters. The first I'll go with is Balthier from Final Fantasy.
My God. Hell yeah.
Balthier from Final Fantasy 12 ended up being one of my favorite characters of all time, simply because in the game, he's cool.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, man, I wish I lived in Evely so I could dress like that. Right?
He's literally the only character I don't have unlocked on my file, but...
So the reason why I bring him up is because that is how you apply what he did in his game to real fashion. You see the pattern on the jacket?
That paisley,
black shirt on
that paisley print on his jacket is incredible.
On his jacket, that's what Japanese designers do. They look at something like a pattern like that and they say, or like they'll look at like kind of like those classic patterns and let's put that in a jacket.
Right.
Like a tailored blazer.
Yeah.
Right. And you get that. You'll get that. That outfit you can wear, nobody would even look twice at you and be. In fact, if you wore that in the West, in the US right now, everybody would think you were the stylish person alive. They'd be like,
totally.
Whoa, where'd you get that jacket, dude? Where'd you get it? And then you got the scarf hanging out of the back to create a little bit more movement. Like, oh, you're creating these layers. You're creating movement, but you still have this clean cut style. It doesn't look stuffy, even though you have a tie. Look at what he does in his game. That's exactly who he is as a character. He's loose. His character is loose, but he looks polished.
Yeah.
In his own game, he looks polished, but he's loose as a character.
Yeah.
In that outfit, he looks polished, but you can tell he's a little bit loose as a character. That is a perfect rendition. But go ahead.
Okay.
I want you to go.
2 things I want to ask you before you move on to the next character, because I'm so happy. First of all, when he first came out, I saw some people saying he looked a little Yakuza. Do you think that's an accurate interpretation, or is there something else going on here that people don't understand culturally over here?
I will say this. There's a reason for that because of, again, games. Right? Right?
Yeah.
Like you look at the Yakuza games.
Totally.
That's what a lot of the dudes look like.
Right.
But what I will say is that there is something that goes underappreciated is Japanese menswear.
Yeah.
Japanese menswear, just like formal menswear, is huge in Japan.
Yeah.
You look at what like United Arrows 1 is doing. You look at what Beams F is doing. This is par the course. I've seen outfits like that in Japan from menswear. Like they are well put together. Right. They're not just Yakuza guys.
Right. Yeah.
They're well put together. They're sleek. They use, especially the younger guys, check out a guy by the name of Shuhei Nishiguchi. Shuhei, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
He's the buyer. He's a
Oh
buyer for
yeah, dog. Oh my god.
yeah. You like that, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Check out a guy by the name of Shuhei Nishiguchi.
Then you'll see. I'd like to be him.
Yeah. Check out a guy by the name of Shuhei Nishiguchi, and you'll be like, okay. He's a buyer for beams.
Wow. Cool.
Right? So this is what they're doing. Like I always, anybody who's into menswear, I was like, just check out Shuhei. You'll know what to do next. You'll know what to do next. So yeah, for me, when I saw both of you, I was like, oh, Shuhei. Right? Like that, I immediately made that connection.
The other thing is, you mentioned that they take a pattern and just apply it to something else and think about what they can do with that. My first time in Japan, I found a small little place that called the Ipcris Lounge, run by my friend Satoshi. He's an incredible guy. He's so into like a British mod culture. He runs this little bar, or did. Unfortunately, the bar has closed down. You can still find him in the park nearby selling drinks out of his cool little trailer.
Awesome.
He rules. Anyway, he also, is designing clothes on the side. Last time we saw him, he just got a vintage like leather stitching machine, and he was teaching himself how to make leather jackets. He was I can't remember what the style was, but it's a style he was replicating and doing in his own way. Incredible stuff. But I walked in, and he has these shirts with all these patterns hanging on the wall, and I was like, how do I get one of these? And he says, come back tomorrow. My assistant will be here. We'll measure you. We'll size you up. I'll ship it to Canada when it's done. You pick out a fabric, and he brings out all of these like William Morris, like wallpaper patterns. And I found 3 that I absolutely adored, and we whittled it down to a famous pattern called the Strawberry Thief. And he made me this incredible button-down shirt that I wear to all kinds of opening nights for shows that I'm in and stuff. And it is always, I cannot get to the other side of the room, because everyone is like, where'd you get it? Where did you get that?
Where'd you get it?
And then I have to sound like the pompous idiot who says, oh, my buddy Satoshi made it for me in a tiny little workshop in Tokyo.
It's a curse. It's a gift and a curse, because I go through it all the time, because whenever I go back to the States, it's like, yo, where'd you get that? And I have to be like, well,
yeah.
And that's why I say I told you before, I'm not good at taking compliments, because I don't want to sound like the pompous jerk. Like, well, I live in Tokyo, and I cover fashion, so I get all this stuff.
Totally.
It's like, I don't ever want to be like that. I think what most people don't know is, like, on the screen when I'm talking to you like this, for me that's easy. But when I'm in front of people, like, I actually am very much an introvert.
Really?
like I don't. Yes, it doesn't seem like it. But I'm like, my lady will tell you. She'll be like, "He don't go anywhere. He does not talk to people, right?" But I can be like this. I can be nice and jovial, and I have a lot to say. But the point is that I don't like telling a lot of people about stuff, because I don't want them to feel like I got this one up on you. Right. My whole thing is like accessibility, but accessibility with kind of like flavor to it.
Yeah.
And that is, and the flavor is, if you're not really, and I always say this, if you're not part of that culture, don't involve yourself into it just because you want access to it, because we're all about accessibility, right? Like, everybody should be able to get it. It's like, there's some like in Japan, and you learn this very quickly. Sometimes you could say something, but then you kind of read the air. We say "kukyo yomu," and you say, not everybody needs to be here.
Yeah.
Right? Not everybody needs to be here.
Yeah.
Like, this is for the people who, and it's not a gatekeep, it's more of a respecting the boundaries of the creator and what they represent.
Yeah.
And you have to know that. And you have to know that kind of like that thing, like not everything needs to be TikTok short form. I need to show everybody what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so like that's a part of the equation. Like, what can I say? What can I not say? And what should stay within the boundaries of this? And what, and what can I, showcase?
It's
and so like there's a fine line between that.
It's honestly something that really drew me to your videos and your channel and your like mission statement and ethos in the first place, is that you have a sense of curation, and you like, there is part of me that is like, I love the stuff he's talking about, and I want to even know even more the stuff he isn't, because I'm so I'm so like,
there's so many. You're not the only one. I have people who are like know a lot.
Yeah.
This has been the really the tension in the channel, is that you have there's a group of casual viewers that know a little bit more than the average viewer.
Right.
And so they know about some of these brands, and they'll message me. It's like, man, you've never really talked about this. Can you bring this up? And I'm like, I could.
I'm not doing it for a reason. Yeah.
There's a reason why I'm not really talking about it.
It's honestly a completely different topic that this episode could have turned into, is the perception of what gatekeeping is. And I'll probably link it in the episode description, because you do have a very good episode about
I did talk about that.
You have, and I absolutely adore it, because it's one of those things where even on this show, we've talked about accessibility as far as like difficulty in video games goes, and when the creator's intent is player antagonism or player friction, and putting obstacles in your way that you can't breeze through to get the platinum trophy. And it's not it's not about that. It's not about being a tourist through this game. It's about engaging with the systems that were put in place.
Sekiro is supposed to be really hard.
and even Sekiro has a ton of difficulty toggles and things that you can use to customize that. But like, it's something that I get accused on the show of being a bit of a gatekeeper, because I'm often the guy who's like, no, meet the game where it's at. Meet it where it is, accept it for the friction that you are being confronted with. And if you are someone who has 2 kids and can't afford to put 40 hours into getting through a dungeon in a game, then
it's not for
you. And maybe
like, not everything. And I've been saying this for years. Like, not everything is for everybody. And it's something that, and I go back to the character thing, because this is important. This is an important thing to say. Not everything is for everybody. And I know that sounds crazy, especially if you grew up. I grew up in America. Like, I'm American through and through. Right? Accessibility is our thing. Right? Like, everybody should have access to everything. And here's the thing.
Except,
and I always tell people this.
Healthcare.
you do have access to everything.
Like,
it's not like I'm saying what you really want is for me to accept. Is for me to accept that everything should be for everybody. You have access to it. There's not like, when you say gatekeeper, that's literally like me locking you out of the gate. But really, the gate is not locked. You can open it.
I'm not stopping anyone from playing Dragon Quest VII, gang.
You can open it. But the problem is that once you open it, you want you either want the game, and by extension, the community, to accept that you wish that this game did this thing that you wanted to do. And you're almost always going to get pushback, because the people who really involved themselves with it and who really studied it are going to be like, no. Like, why would they do it? I like this game because of what it does. I've said this about a recent game that I played, actually a few months ago. Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Yeah.
I'm really good at this game.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Sick.
I basically did the no death run and the still soul run.
Yeah.
And I beat it that way. And I love the game. I like it more than the first one. A lot of people will say, no, I like the first one more. I love Silk Song
Yeah.
because of the speed, and it reminds me of how I play video games. One of my favorite games of all time is Ninja Gaiden, the 3D series.
Yeah.
2,
Oh,
3,
yeah.
Sigma.
Yeah.
Really big fan.
Yeah.
So I like these kind of like speed and rhythm and just kind of like free flowing games.
Yeah.
And so when people were talking about like, Silk Song being hard, I was like, I didn't want to do the old, well, just get good. I didn't want to do it because I don't want to sound pretentious, and I know how people feel about that. But I also wanted to be like, there's a way for you to approach it that makes it either one, easier, or two, you have to play it in a certain way that makes it that's more free flowing. That's the excitement of the game. And once you get used to it, the game then becomes easier.
Yeah.
My pro tip for anybody is always play a game for like 5 or 7 hours, right? Till you get the mechanics, right? Stop playing it and start over.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely.
Stop playing it and start over.
Yeah.
Watch how good you are at the beginning.
Totally.
You'll be like, oh, you're like, I know how to do all these things.
Yeah.
Because now you understand the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
Now you understand what the game is going to give you. You haven't finished the game completely, but you know enough now. After about 7 to 10 hours, you know enough where you can breeze through that first part in less time.
Yeah.
That's one. And two, you have the skills to go further.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to that mark where you were at before, now you've really embraced it. It's just training, right? It's just it's training,
which is
right?
something in the video game world we used to understand that more innately when we were playing through 45-minute, hour and a half long arcade shooters, games where it was like, okay, I'll figure out how to play the game, and then I'll start it again, and then I'll start it again, and then I'll start it again, and then I'll start it on normal mode, because I've been on kids mode this whole time, just trying to survive.
Right. I remember, and this final thing I'll say about it.
Yeah.
I remember when I played, I was a big Mass Effect fan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do this thing now. It may sound kind of ridiculous, but I do this thing now where I start a game on the hardest level before the hardest level.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, so if there's like a master level, I play the level right before that.
Yeah.
Right when I start the game. Right. So I'll play it on that level, and I'll do that training thing. I'll do 10 hours. Now, the reason why I do this is because if you play it on that level, that becomes your new normal.
Yeah. Totally.
That's your new normal now. And so when that becomes your new normal, when you put it to the normal mode, it's too easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It becomes too easy because you've done the Goku thing. Like you've
totally
went into the hyperbolic time chamber, and you've seen how hard it was at that level. By the time you get out, you're like, well, it's too easy now.
Yeah.
Now I need the hard thing.
You've been doing it at 8 times gravity with your weights on, and then like Rock Lee, you take them off and you're now
it's too easy. Now you've trained yourself to be better. And so this goes, and I'm going to go ahead and tie this back. This goes to fashion as well, right?
Yeah.
It goes to fashion as well. How do you train yourself?
Yeah.
And this has really been my process. How do you train yourself to look at whether it's character design, another fashion brand, or even, like I said, Final Fantasy, and say, I like that character design. How can I apply those things?
Yeah.
And what does that mean? You have to go down to fabric detail, how something is made, how something actually reforms over time, changes over time.
Yeah.
Right? Like a leather jacket. How's this leather jacket going to change over time? That's important, right? Because you may like the jacket now when it's new, but you might not like the jacket when it gets all, worn in.
When it gets that patina.
Might be a you thing.
Yeah.
Right? That patina of the leather jacket, you may not like that. But if you do, then it's going to have more character as you get older. But as it gets older, as you get older, as you continuously wear it, and you may find that I wear this jacket all the time.
Yeah.
isn't it okay if I wear it all the time? Because again, there's that other thing in the West is like you have to have like all these different outfits.
Yeah.
In Japan, it's like you could wear the same leather jacket all the damn time.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can wear it every day if you want to.
Yeah.
Right? And you have people who do that, right? Because they embody that. And once you figure out what that is, once you do that training of, when people ask me, what's your favorite brand? I was like, I really don't go by brands.
Mm.
I go by the material I'm looking for and the silhouette that I'm going for.
Mm.
I've done the training at this point to know what a certain garment feels like and what it does, what its character is, what its movement is, that allows me to search for that thing rather than look at a brand that may be providing it. Like I will say, knit, wool, V-neck, oversize, cut off sweater, right? Like, and that's basic, right? And those things, there's not that many brands that do it.
Sure.
So it's easier to find when you know all the elements to it. That's the whole point. When you know all the elements to something, it's easier to do. So when you go back to character design, you're like, ooh, I like that jacket that this character is wearing. It's cropped at, at a waist level. It's, this kind of cut. When you know all of that language, when you know all of that terminology, it's much easier to find the things that you want rather than the brands that may be doing it. Because you cannot rely on brands. You have to rely on what you know. And that's how I know about all the brands. I'm not like some fashion savant. I'm just a dude that studied fashion. Right? Like that's it. Like I studied it to a degree where I'm not like some guy on the runway or, who's building fashion brands. There's people who know immensely more than I do. But what I've done is I have not just a baseline knowledge. I like to think that I have a little bit more knowledge, right, than the average person when it comes to, I'm in it, right? Like I'm in it all the time. I'm not expecting everybody to have as much as I know. But when you do have a baseline knowledge, it becomes infinitely easier to be choosy, to be savvier, to look at a character and say, I see what they did there. I know. And this brings me to the other character that I'm going to bring up.
Please.
From Duellum.
Please. I'm so excited.
His name is Clive.
Clive
Rossfield.
All right.
Clive Rossfield. Clive's alternate uniform in Duellum. One is something that you can buy in Tokyo right now. It's something that you can buy in the West right now. But the more important thing is how they translated his regular Final Fantasy, 16 character model into modern clothing. Look at it. His main one, he's wearing the black, his main regular, he's wearing a black, like, he has the pauldrons, he has the leg armor, and he has like kind of like a slim silhouette. He has the long cape on the back. But one of the main features is that his inner shirt is a V-neck.
Everyone loves the Clive cleavage.
Right, Clive cleavage. Look what they did with his modern one. He's wearing a leather jacket. He's wearing a V-neck inner white shirt to give it contrast with the black. Right? Instead of making his shirt red, because a red shirt is actually quite loud. They wanted, with all these Duellum characters, they tried to make it more casual. Red is not really a casual color. So what they did was they V-necked the shirt, kept it same as his regular model. They made the shirt white, but look where they put the red on the belt. The belt is now a leather red belt. Perfect. How did they do the armor? Armor is within the belt buckle. You have that nice little silver belt buckle. Also the zippers on the leather jacket that he's wearing. Right? And then we have these slim fit jeans with the boots, which is the leg armor. His regular character model is a slimmer fit, and down to his shoes, we have the shoes with the black shoes with the red laces to give it a little bit of texture, and the white bottoms. That's also invoking the shine of the armor.
Totally. It pops as this like knightly sort of gallant element. The pops of red. Even the lining of his collar is the red too, just to tie it all together. It's so good.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, how can you look at a character and hear me out. That is an outfit. I see some people who are showcasing like, you know, trying to do that outfit just like Clive in like, you know, Reddit posts and everything. And I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, get the best version of it. Go
Yeah.
to like a Momotaro jeans or a, you know, a place that makes black jeans.
Oh.
Get that slim fit, and then, you know, and then put those on. That's a high quality jean. You can get them tailored right there. Put those on and get a nice boot. You don't have to get the red laces. You can apply the red laces if you want to, but red laces on boots is actually, in real life, is actually very demanding as a stylistic choice.
Sure.
But if you just switch those laces with just plain black laces, now it starts to look a little bit more formulated. You can keep the leather, you can keep the V-neck shirt. That's fine. Maybe not as deep. Maybe you have it at the neckline, and then you still have something that's a little bit subdued. You put the leather jacket on, go to Attic Clothes, get the leather, you know, go to Attic Clothes. They make leather jackets in the same kind of style as that. They also have the red liner on the inner. So you're going to get that. And then you have the outfit. Skip the gloves, because not everybody wears gloves unless you're on a motorcycle. You could do that, and nobody's going to complain about your outfit. In fact, they're going to say, wow, you look really well put together. Right. And they're not going to be none the wiser that you got that idea from a character on Final Fantasy Duellum. Right. They're not going to know unless they played the game.
Totally.
And you can go even further by, how did he do his hair? How did he do his, you know, his facial hair? You can go further into it, but this is not something that's hard to do. Right? With Balthier, what did I show you? I showed you Shuhei Nishiguchi. He embodies what Balthier is doing, even though he's not wearing the same exact thing. He's applying the same exact rules. And so again, when we started this conversation, we talked about like my influence in like video games and how video games really inspired, and how Final Fantasy inspired fashion. For me, Final Fantasy as a genre has always been that. It has always, from the very beginning. And that's what, and this is the secret, that's what got me into it. Character design, particularly Final Fantasy. I saw Cloud in Sephiroth, and my entire goal from that point on was not how do I dress like those characters, was how can I apply what they do to something that's familiar and easy to wear. That entire conversation that we had earlier about these brands that are taking characters and, you know, trying to make them more palatable. That's been my job. That's why it's called The Casual. Right? That's exactly why it's called that. It's and I can give you historical precedent for that. Like I can go back and say the whole thing, you know, Ivy in Japan started in 1960s, 1964 with the Miyukizoku, and they used to wear these Ivy, very you know, elitist kind of Eastern styles,
preppy,
preppy, in Ginza, and they just took over the whole street. In fact, in Japan, it was like disruption. These kids who were wearing this stuff, they didn't like. The normal Japanese populace didn't like this. Okay, so fast forward a few years, once we get to the 80s. The 80s, with the emergence of a style called shibukaji. Shibukaji took those same Ivy elements that were more about how to wear something correctly. And what they did is they deconstructed it and they made it more casual. So everyday people could wear it. And so it became this thing where it's like we're using Ivy elements, but we're making it easier to wear. That became shibukaji. And when shibukaji kind of like dissipated, like Ivy was still there, but it was still too correct. There was this other style that was inspired by Ivy. Shibukaji kind of dissipated. So where does all this style go that's like based in like American style? Like where does it go? What is it called? Right after Shibukaji kind of died out, that's when the Amekaji movement, the signal, all of that is under Amekaji, American casual. Right. All of that now, from the workwear to the, you know, plaid to the denim. All of that became that. That's the lineage.
I got this selvage denim. This is from Shimokitazawa. I got this at a little place called Port Island. It's one of my favorite pieces.
Port Island.
This is one of my favorite. It gives me like silhouette that I thought I could only dream of.
Yeah.
I love this piece more than
Yeah.
just about anything in the world.
And I have to be clear, like the terminology when we say shibukaji, amikaji, like American fashion or like, heritage fashion had always been in Japan since like the post World War II,
Totally.
1945. It just didn't have a name. It was
Yeah,
just
right.
stuff that James Dean wore in Rebel
Right.
Without a Cause. Right. Right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then once we started actually naming these and placing names, the magazine culture in Japan, which is still major, the magazine culture started trying to name these things, these different taxonomies and categories. And amikaji became that thing after shibukaji.
Right.
But it became what was, that amalgamation of all these things. That was the name for it, but it had always existed. And so once we get into the 90s and we have all these, with the emergence of like games and character design and Japan had a large taxonomy of different styles and different inspirations to pull from. And so they didn't have to look at a character and say, we need to make a fantasy character. Think about how Western design is. Let's make a fantasy character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what does that end up being? We'll look at like
Lord of the Rings,
medieval times and like put some armor on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden we have this character. What Japanese designers did is they said, yeah, let's take those European and Western style designs, but how can we make them even more dynamic?
Yeah.
Like Clive as a character really is wearing like medieval clothing.
Yeah.
But they've slimmed up his silhouette.
Yeah.
They've broadened out it. They've made this kind of like hourglass kind of figure out of him. Like nobody was wearing that in medieval times.
No.
Nobody looked like that.
So funny. Just yesterday, so my wife is a costumer, and she's going to a Ren Fair later this summer, and she does own like a bunch of armor pieces, and
awesome.
She was packing for it, and I saw that she was like packing up like the breastplate and all these pieces, and I was like, this is how I know you are the like Western fantasy fan and I'm the Japanese fantasy fan, because if I was picking any pieces from that suit of armor to bring with me, I would be like asymmetrical. I'm bringing one gauntlet for one arm. I'm taking a pauldron for the other one, and I'm like, I'll take like a knee brace and like one sabaton. And she was like, no, I'm going to wear the body.
I need to protect the place that I can die.
No, I want to look cool.
Right. So I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
When you have the ability to create your own character in a game.
Yeah.
And clothe them.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to go through outfits? Like I always ask everybody this.
People will know that I am a big Final Fantasy 11 and 14 fan. And the world of Final Fantasy 14, and we will not even get to it this episode because
not gonna do it.
I spend ages in character creation. That's something that my wife and I have in common is even if we don't plan on playing the game, if we hear it's got a great character creator, we'll fire it up. Yes, I especially my 14 character, I will do full photo shoots. I will spend hours making all my different glamour plates. We need more glamour plates, Yoshi P. I'm dying.
We need as many as you can muster.
Yeah, my girl only has 16 outfits, and she needs so many more than that.
That's exactly the reason why I asked that question, because you hit me up about fashion.
Yeah.
And whenever I talk to people who like have that intersection of fashion and gaming, they always respond like, it takes me ages to create different outfits, like all the time. Like I spend the same amount of time. Doesn't matter what game it is, if it has a character creator in it and it allows me to put pieces of clothing in the game that are available in the game, it takes me, I will spend days.
Yeah.
Give me Cyberpunk 2077. I'll spend a whole day just looking for clothes across the city. Sorry.
Totally.
Right. Give me, I'll tell you a small little anecdote.
Yeah.
It's not a Final Fantasy game.
Sure.
I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally only hunting animals to get certain pieces from the fur trapper guy. I'm like, I need to so you mean me to kill a bear? So I get this.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go kill a bear. Like I was literally playing the game only to get certain pieces for my character model.
Absolutely.
Like it was so bad that I was like, what am I doing? Because I was so obsessed with this idea. I played so many different games.
Yeah.
And across so many different mediums. I played, Destiny 2. I was the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I need this color. Yeah. I need this pauldron right here from like 2-3 years ago. Yeah. I still one pauldron on one arm, nothing on the other. Like I need the right sneakers on this. Yep. Like it was right boots. All of these things. It takes me forever because I'm in love with character design.
Same.
So when you hit me up, I said, it's right up my alley.
Yeah.
Only because that's where I started this entire journey is in character design. Yeah. And ever since then, what I always say to myself is like, well, I don't have to be a character designer now because there's so many great ones out there. And the discovery, the curation is a part of that for me now.
Yeah.
Right? Like when people ask me, why don't you just start a brand? I was like, man, there's so many brands out there now that I don't need to make one.
Yeah, that are
right because they're
doing
the curation
the things,
is that
they're doing the things you would want to do anyway, and having that base knowledge means it's honestly what I like doing about this podcast more than even like reviewing games or whatever is the act of curating and knowing that like I was going to bring it up earlier. You were talking about like, how don't follow a brand because that might not always do the thing you want. Tale as old as time, but bajillions of people buy Final Fantasy VII. The next game coming out is Final Fantasy Tactics. They pick it up and they say, what the hell is this?
Final Fantasy VII?
What am I playing? and it's that like, well,
talking about the best game of all time.
Well, yeah,
one of them.
I mean, if it's what you're looking for, if you're looking for more Final Fantasy VII, you don't find it there. But if you have someone like yourself, and what I aspire to do is to be able to say, hey, I know that if the kind of experience you're looking for, the kind of look you're looking for, or the feel that you are looking for, it's out there, and I want to be the kind of person who can point people in that direction and advocate for the people who are doing that stuff out there without having to say, hey, just follow this developer or this publisher or this corporation and they'll treat you right, because they won't.
And that goes back to the gatekeeper issue. It's like, it's not, you just mentioned it, like Final Fantasy VII, jillions of people buy it. They love it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is the first, for many people, that was the first JRPG that they ever played.
Yeah.
Right? They were like, oh my God, this is what they're like?
Yeah.
Right? And so they play it, and then they see Final Fantasy Tactics, and for a Final Fantasy fan who's been there for a long time, they're like, oh yeah, this is right. This is the other world.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, okay, this is normal. This is a tactics game. If you played Ogre Tactics, if you played any of the tactics, any tactics game, you know what this is going to be about. But then the new people come in and they're like, well, this isn't what I thought. This was like a series that only did stuff like this.
Yeah.
And again, was that gate closed to you? No, you could buy the game just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But then you realized that this isn't the game that was for me.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes this conversation where Final Fantasy VII fans are having conversations with Final Fantasy fans. And Final Fantasy fans are saying, that's not really what the series is about. And Final Fantasy VII fans are saying, well, why isn't all the games like Final Fantasy VII? And you have to roll your eyes on this side and say, that's not what the game, like, that's not what it's about, right? And so, well, they all should be that way. And then there's this contention. It's not that you can't play and this is where we're saying, it's like, yo, if you like Final Fantasy VII, then there's other games within the Final Fantasy universe that have that same similar aesthetic, right? And that you can go towards. Or there's ones that are more like the kind of a Victorian style,
Yeah.
where, you know, you can go towards that. But then there's those of us who like all of
Yeah.
it, because we understand, like,
Yeah, baby.
that's what the series has always been.
Yeah.
But the door is not closed to you either
Yeah.
way. It's how you, it's how you accept what the door offers you once you get in.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, like, it's not gatekeeping because nobody's telling you can't play it. The contention has always been how people get very, I would say, defensive
Entitled?
about
Oh.
it. Yes. Entitled and entitled on one end,
Yes.
and also defensive on the other end.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
it's like, dude, this is the series that I love. How you can try to change it, come up in here talking about everything should be Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
We've been at this for years.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like, I put months and years into this.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side that's just like, well, why isn't it more? Why are you guys acting like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, we like this game too. It's like, you like this game, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? But we like this series,
Yes.
for what it has shown us.
Yes.
And there are other games in the series that are great.
Yeah.
It's like, I have this, like, amongst the Final Fantasy community,
Yeah.
right? Just the people who talk about
Yeah.
it. I have this real big argument
Okay.
with Final Fantasy 12.
Okay.
Like, I think Final Fantasy 12 is like one of the best Final Fantasies of all time.
Yeah, man. Hey, don't tell some other hosts of this podcast that, or
I know.
former
They're
hosts
like-
of this podcast that.
They're like, what do you mean Final Fantasy 12 is the best Final?
That's the
I'm like,
that's the one that plays itself.
right? I'm like, guys, it has to do with, it was the first Final Fantasy that had amazing voice work.
Incredible.
Like incredible voice
Talk about
work.
ball
It
fear,
was
man.
So, oh my God. Like, it was so good. And I was so into like the world building of it. Yes, I get it. It plays itself. It's crazy, the Gambit system, but I just loved that world. I loved what it did.
Yeah.
And in Japan, this is the disconnect. In
Mhm.
Japan, Final Fantasy 12 is considered one of the best Final Fantasies.
Yeah, because they get it. Man,
Right?
they understand.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? It's in Japan. But
Yeah.
that's not to say like the Japan like thinks better. It's just like how Japan processed
Yeah.
that versus how we process like
This
Final
is so
Fantasy VII,
different.
or how- or the hidden, a lot of Final Fantasy fans will say Final Fantasy VII is good, but that is an entry point game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Final Fantasy VIII is the better game.
All right, now we're talking. Hey, be sure to tell us what you think in the comments.
Right.
Oh boy. Well, it's
or
the
Final Fantasy IX is a better game than Final Fantasy VII.
yeah.
Like, you'll have, like, depending on what person you are, it's all like that. But that's exactly the point. Not everything is for everybody. With fashion, it's the same thing. And in our community on the casual, because we talk about Japanese fashion almost exclusively, we know that, and I'm gonna just be straight up, any fans of Japan in general, we have this underlying kind of thing, right? Right? Where even because we know about this one thing in Japan, we feel like we can talk about everything in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to curb that impulse as much as I possibly can, but
I try to, right? They're like, oh, I live here, so I know about the politics. It's like, man, no, you don't. Like, you don't follow politics like that. Or maybe you do, but maybe that's the thing you know.
Yeah.
It's like so my contention is like when people talk to me about Japan and then they start talking about Japanese fashion, and I'm like, and I have to stop them. I'm like, guys, I understand, like, you love Japan, and I know you love Japan, and I love Japan too.
Yeah.
But this area, I know a lot about.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not just it's my job to know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's my job to talk to these people and understand what they're trying to convey. I go out there and I'm trying to interview Japanese designers and whatnot. Like, it's an area that I take incredibly seriously. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give you wrong information. I'm trying to tell you, like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
It is the one thing that I have an incredible passion for, but not just an incredible passion for, what I have studied extensively over the last 15 or so years.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a process. But when we do this kind of conversation, I'm not going to try to tell you about you. I can say right now, I know a lot about Final Fantasy, but you know more about Final Fantasy
Sure.
than me.
Sure.
Right? Like, you know more about the game than I do,
Sure.
even though I love it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you, well, the mechanics of this game.
Well, that is a
like,
good
okay.
impression of me, Reggie, but
right. So that's what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah.
we have this kind of base feeling. And so whether you're doing what you do, what I do with fashion,
Yeah.
we always have to contend with that,
Yeah.
because we're all fans of Japan. And we have this thing where we want to prove how big fans we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
But you don't need to prove it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I love what you do, right? Talking to people in this capacity about the convergence of fashion, games, and just games in general, and playing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love that community. I love what the Japanese animation fans do. I love what they do. They get very contentious about what they like.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
they're very, you know, powerful as a group.
Yeah.
But I love what we do as a fashion community.
Yeah.
And I love how the different elements, I love what we do as far as fashion brings in the Japanese animation people.
Sure. Yeah.
Brings in the gamers.
Yeah.
Right. I love how it brings like, fashion is that one thing where if you're a fan of Japanese, any of those other Japanese things, fashion is what brings us all together.
Yeah.
Because we're all fans of the characters.
Yeah.
Right. We're all fans of how the characters are designed. That's why I chose fashion in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm into gaming. I used to be really into Japanese animation.
Sure.
But fashion is where we all can be like,
yeah,
we all like that, because we all like the characters.
And because just like culturally, it is necessarily a common denominator that you don't have to be a fan of anything else in a culture to be able to recognize or appreciate the fashion, because it is what is so outwardly on display. Like, it is truly the thing we all have in common. Even if you're not a fan of animation or whatever, you can still appreciate. You still have a frame of reference for another culture's fashion.
I will watch a Japanese animation. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I will watch it purely because of character design.
Same. Absolutely.
I was like, I'll watch it because I like the way that character was designed.
Yeah.
I'll watch Castlevania because the way they designed Alucard was pretty
good, yeah.
And I like the way that they, did the cinematography and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
So that's always been my frame of reference, is how something is made. And with fashion, it goes so many layers deep because of, you can go, you mentioned earlier about Lightning's skirt. You're not really sure what it's made out of.
Yeah.
Just a throwback.
Yeah.
But when you're not, whether it's leather or whatnot, that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's exactly what my fascination with it is.
Yeah.
What is it made out of? How is it processed?
Yeah.
How is it woven? What did they put on there?
Yeah.
How does it work? Does it feel good when you wear it? All of those things end up being part of the discussion in fashion, and I love that discussion.
I promise we will wrap up in a second, but
keep going.
It's one of the things. My wife and I were actually watching the Final Fantasy XIV Fan Fest that just happened in Berlin last weekend. They always do a cosplay walk off, where everybody just comes out and strike a pose, walk off. And it's a really, my wife was in the one in Anaheim earlier this year. And we love watching these. And one of the things that kept coming up, and as a costumer, she's always aware of, and as someone who is now married to a costumer who is always aware of that, and also as someone who is interested in fashion and materials and the quality of materials, and has only in the past decade or so become much more of an appreciator of how certain materials sit on the body and how they react to movement and things like that. We couldn't stop paying attention to when someone had created a costume of a character, but you could tell they didn't know or think about what that clothing would have been made of in the reality of that world, because it wouldn't sit right. it would flop around. You can tell when someone was like, I'll just make this cape out of a cotton polyester blend and call it a day. And it doesn't look good or right, or and having that understanding of it's not even a granular thing, it's the foundational thing, it's the structural thing, it's the thing that holds all of it up, is what the thing is made of. Like, it is the core of it. And to see people when they haven't quite figured that part of the process out is the same in cosplay as it is in fashion.
So I'm going to try to truncate this because I'm going academic on people, but I don't want to do
Please
it because
do.
You're talking about something that's so just, it's close to me. All right. So recently I had somebody who pointed out that I may have been misleading people with a certain brand in Japan that I said makes their own fabrics. Now, I wasn't. This brand does make their own fabrics. But if you tell that to like somebody who's familiar with the fashion industry out west, a brand that makes its own fabrics is absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
Because it costs way too much to make your own fabrics, right? Like, you cannot do this. But it immediately made me understand, like, you really don't know the history of why Japan could so easily make their own fabrics, and why Japanese students of fashion can speak the language of textile engineering.
Right.
Japanese designers, just simply, so because we're actually going to do a video on this that really explores how deep this is. We actually went all the way to Okayama and to meet with pattern makers. We went to a factory who makes clothing, and we also went to a fabric mill,
Right.
all the way in the backwaters of Okayama. It was a great trip. But one of the things that dawned on me was how students are taught in Japan and fashion universities textile first.
Right.
Textile and garment literacy first. Not pattern making, but textile and garment literacy first.
Wow.
And how something reacts to movement, stiffness, tension, and all of like thread tension, how something is woven. Like, this is something that a lot of Western designers at the beginning may not understand. They understand a little bit later, but especially ones who are kind of like self-taught, they may not understand, like, there's a difference between a cotton that's has one particular type of tension and another particular type of tension.
Sure.
And they operate completely differently. In Japan, that's the base knowledge that you have.
Yeah.
You start from there because that determines everything. It determines how it looks. It determines its sheen. It determines its movement. And as you know, when you're a costume designer, like your wife is, she probably understands this because costume designers have to understand that more than even fashion designers. Because costume designers, their stuff is going to be seen on a stage or in a movie. And so it has to look real.
And right. That person's going to be moving in it. They're going to be sweating in it. It's going to get dirty. Right. It's going to,
So whenever I see this, I'm like, the reason why Japanese designers can do this is because they have this thing called sanchi. Sanchi is it happened way, shit, I'm about to go into Japanese history. But let me just say this. Back in the Edo period, the Tokugawa Shogunate, what they did is they instilled a law where the certain areas had to be skilled in a particular thing. Right? So like in Tokushima, they mandated you guys are gonna like work on the skill of dyeing, like dyeing clothes.
Right.
They went to Okayama and said, you guys are gonna do textile engineering. They went to like Bishu, you guys are gonna do like wool, just wool. Wow. That's your specialty. Wool in this area, cotton in this area, dyeing in this area. So no one area could do anything by itself.
Right.
They all had to rely on each other. And within their own communities, they have different people with different specialties. So if you go to Okayama, you can go to a mill, you can go to the people who make the garment, and you can go to the people who actually hand dye it, all in one area,
Right.
all within a 20-mile radius of each other.
Yeah.
So they all are right there.
Right.
And so when it comes to like textile engineering in Japan, designers can literally go to a mill and saying, I want you to tighten up the tension on this and then do this. They're making proprietary garments, and because they're not huge conglomerates, they can R&D it right there in the studio
Wow.
with the actual mill owner.
Right.
So they have these proprietary blends. It's the reason why a brand like Lee can make like a proprietary fabric that only it has. And what ends up happening is that this brand works with this mill. The mill gets that new fabric, and now they can sell that fabric to other brands, but also the brand like Lee gets money from the sale of that new fabric because they developed it, they developed the IP.
Right.
And the mill makes money because other brands are now using a fabric that was developed by Lee.
Wow.
So this is how brands actually work in the ecosystem. In the West, and this gets to the heart of when you look at somebody wearing something and it doesn't quite, they didn't really think about this. It's because the vast majority of brands in the West are buying fabric commercially from fabric institutions that have already pre-made the fabric. And what your job to do as a designer is to find the best fabric for what you're trying to do. And if you're talking about making your own stuff, cosplaying, or building the actual structure of the garment yourself, what are you going to do? As either a novice or a trained designer, you're not going to pick the most expensive one. You're going to pick the one that's easiest to make, that, gets as close to as possible as what you want to do. Sure. But what you don't know, it is that extra thing that makes what when somebody sees it, they say that's different. The fact that if guys, I will tell people this, please study textile, like just textiles and tension and drape. Study that. And I promise you, the most simple thing will become so distinct and people can see it. They literally, like you said, you can see it. You can see the difference. And when you can see the difference, even though you may not know what it is, we can see the difference. I've worn things that are normal, like by all intents normal, like in the grand scheme of like fashion.
Sure.
But people will look at it and say, where'd you get that?
Yeah.
Like, that's just completely different. Like, it's not. It's just, you can see that difference. You could see texture, right? Which is the reason why like brands that could do all black in Japanese fashion, they were like, how can you do that? Well, that's because the way that Japan processes color and the way that the West processes color is just different. It's not better, not worse, just different. They process color through shape, through texture and shape, and what kind of sheen a fabric actually makes. So you can actually have the same color on, but because it has a different texture, it'll let off a different shade, which makes it seem like it's a different color, but it's not, right? So that's why I say study that stuff, and you can make even the most simple thing seem dynamic. And that's why I love Japanese fashion. Again, as far as innovation is concerned, I will tip my hat, like real life fashion innovation, I will tip my hat to the West any day of the week. The West innovates fashion in a way that Japan just simply does not do. But that's not because Japan can't do it. It's just that that's really not have been their way. Even when they were, Vivienne Westwood punk obsessed, it wasn't about like super innovation or trying something new. It was always about, how do we take something that's there and just tweak it to a point where it either feels better, it falls differently, it hits the light differently. And that's the granular part of Japanese fashion. When people come up to me and say, what happened to Japanese fashion? It's not exciting anymore. I'm like, man, it's more exciting than it's ever been. Right? To me, it's more exciting than it's ever been because it's all granular. It's all like intense, and it's a study, and it's beautiful to me. Because all that crazy stuff is still there. It's still there, but now the new generation is really getting deeper into the science of it. And for me, it's exciting. Just, I guess it's a me thing. and probably you think too.
It's
So
honestly,
I'm long-winded about it, but there's a lot to go through.
I shit you not. I had an alternate introduction to this episode before I got the article from Steven. It was going to be about when I was 12 or 13 years old, and my dad told me he's a graphic designer, he's an illustrator, he does architectural renderings, he's a muralist, he's
Awesome.
an incredible man. And when I was very young, he was telling me that like any art form, anytime you get into any art form, you eventually discover that the art form of it is held up by a scaffolding of the science behind it, and it's your rule of thirds when you're doing composition, or color theory, or your circle of fifths in music. Like there's the scientific theory, and then if you want to get really into it in music, it's like literally understanding the wavelengths and the number of hertz in something. um and that once you understand that science, that's when you can dig into it. And once you're beyond that, then you find the actual art. It's so
Yes.
you go through this valley of art into science, back into art again, when you understand the rules and the granularity of it and how to break it and work with it and bend the elemental part of it to what you want to create. So the fact that you ended this by talking about the science and the granularity,
It's all in there. It's all in there. That's what I've been doing for the past 10 years. It's been trying to break down the science bit by bit.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Reggie. Like I say, we could do this for another
We really
2
could.
hours. So
I was holding back a little bit.
Me too, dog. I'm vibrating. We'll definitely meet up for a part 2 sometime. Like I say, hopefully we can wrangle someone else. Before we go, real quick, Kane Highwind's Dissidia Duellum look, yay or nay? Bring that puppy up.
Let me see. Okay.
It's a divisive look, I will say, in the Final Fantasy community.
Duellum, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Which one? Like the original or the fashion rendering?
The fashion render. Like, personally, I love it. I think using a fedora to represent his dragoon helmet is actually inspired. And I know we haven't given her a proper shout out on this episode, but Miki Tamashita is the costume designer for Dissidia Duellum. Those Nomura-esque sketches in it are usually done by her. She's also she does a lot of work in the Final Fantasy trading card game, and does a lot of great pieces. But I just want to know, if you were walking down the street and saw this guy, first of all, what neighborhood do you think you'd see him in, and how would you react?
Okay. One,
yeah,
just the outfit in general. It is a take on a particular style.
Okay.
That you would probably see. It's a take on a particular style that you could probably see in the back kind of areas of Harajuku.
Okay.
Maybe in some more like areas that like more kind of hidden.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I like the little shawl.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you see that a lot. It has the one brand that's really popular in Japan, Western brand, is Pendleton.
Okay.
Pendleton is really popular. So that like once I saw that, I was like, oh, it's kind of like a rendition of Pendleton. Yeah. And then we have the cowboy boots, also very popular in Japan.
Yeah.
The hat, Milners in Japan, like hats in Japan. If I'm being real with you, this is. I mean, I'm not gonna say I would wear it.
Sure.
I would say it's super recognizable.
Yeah.
And super applicable. The only difference is that the color is a little bit off.
Yeah.
The color, the purple.
Okay.
The purple and the deeper purples. But if I were to see this outfit in real time, that coat would have been maybe a brown
Right.
or like a brown tannish, like in wool.
Yeah.
The inner, because I'm trying to see everything. The inner with the vest, it's V-neck. It's probably a cut off sweater with the shirt under.
Right.
Yeah. The only thing is, it's just the color. The color you wouldn't see, but if you actually saw this in the color that it would be normally worn in, yeah, that's instantly recognizable.
Wow.
Instantly. So, yay or nay? I'm gonna give it a yay.
Incredible.
I'm gonna give it a yay. I'm gonna give it a yay as a concept. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so happy to hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a yay because I've had a piece like this. I've had an outer piece like this, so I'm not gonna say nay.
I was looking for something like it while I was there last time. I was like, I'd love long. Yeah,
no. Man, Jack Rose used to sell these all the time. Jack Rose, yeah, you might want to check out if Jack Rose is still selling it.
Cool.
Selling something like this.
Okay,
yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'll send some stuff your way. I have your contact.
You got my email now. Yeah.
What color do you want? What color are you looking for?
Oh, I would like
the same kind.
Something. I need something brown. I need something in a brownish, some more earthy tones. I need something.
I got you.
Incredible.
That's not gonna be hard to do. I can do that. As soon as we get off.
Audience,
I have you covered.
This is the best connection I've made on this show. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, listeners, your dreams can also come true if you start an RPG podcast.
Absolutely.
Reggie, thank you so much for being here. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate it, making the time for us today. What a way to start your morning in Japan.
It's good.
For the listeners, is there anything you'd like to plug? Would you like to let people know where they can find you if you would like to be found?
Yeah, guys, check out The Casual on YouTube. You can't miss it. Just TheCasual. We've been doing a lot of newer type of content where it's more magazine inspired by, magazine house, Shuheisha, where we're doing different types of articles and going deeper into the systems and mechanics of Japanese fashion, not just telling you what's out there, but really going into the thought process behind it. We're talking with Japanese designers. We're going places, doing a lot of new things this year because we've kind of opened up our process. So I'm really happy about that. So check us out there. We're also have a new sub on video magazine that's currently in its infancy but growing steadily. That's Amekaji Dojo. If you're really interested in Japanese Americana or Amekaji, like that kind of American heritage, boots, leather jackets, and all that, you can check out Amekaji Dojo on Instagram. They're doing great work there. I don't run that personally. I work with them, and they're part of the entire, they're part of the family of, digital magazines. And so, I'm not in charge of it, I say, but I help them with content. And so check them out on Instagram. That's where they're growing. If you're really into that, even if you're not like particularly into Americana, it's a great source of just finding out what's also out there in Japan and how they're reorganizing that stuff. Yeah. So guys, check me out there. And hopefully I can get some type of podcast or something going on or whatever one of these days. It's just so busy, but
of course.
Yeah, no, that's where you can find me most of the time.
Amazing. Couldn't have asked for a better guest. Of course, patreon.com/bloodgodpod if you would like episodes like these with no ads, etc. Also over on Blue Sky at Blood God Pod. I'm there at Victor E. Hunter. It's the letter E and Hunter. Incredible. Thank you so much for being here. Can't wait for part 2.
Yeah. I mean, I'm almost sure we got to do it now.
Thank you all so much for listening. For Reggie, for myself, happy adventuring.